Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So if you couldn't tell, the quality is hopefully a little bit better on this video because I just got a new camera. I have never owned a camera before in my life, so this is actually my first one. I got the Sony I got the Sony ZV-1F and it was around $500. I also got it with the little tripod thing. Basically, I dropped like $600 on this whole setup. So I hope you guys like it. If you think that the quality is the same, then I'm gonna cry. So today, I thought that in honor of my last day at work as a paralegal being tomorrow, I would go ahead and film a question and answer with a bunch of unanswered questions that I have in my comment section of things that you guys have asked. So the first thing somebody said was, be honest with me, I'm 30 right now. Is it too late to look into being a paralegal? Is it really expensive to go to school for it? So there were actually a couple people who replied to her or him, I believe it was a woman, in the comments and were really supportive and basically shared the same opinion that I have, that is, it is never too late to do anything. I cannot stress this enough. I feel like a lot of people get too into their heads about, oh, am I gonna fit in? Is it gonna be just a waste of money, a waste of time? The thing that I always ask myself about whether or not I want to do something and spend time, because time is the most valuable resource you have, is will I still be thinking about this 5 years from now? Like 5 years from now, if I don't do it, will I still be thinking, I wonder what it would be like to do this? And that's something that I've always thought about when it comes to being a lawyer. Is like, I know that if I didn't become a lawyer, I would always be thinking to myself, what if I became a lawyer? Like, what would it be like? Would I have enjoyed it? Would I have loved it? Would it have really fulfilled me? And I just couldn't live with that. I couldn't live with constantly thinking about the what ifs. I wanted to really highlight people who you probably know, who I definitely know, who literally achieved huge things after the age of 40. Number one, Martha Stewart. You guys know Martha Stewart. She's everywhere. If you have ever been in a mall or ever been in a Macy's, you have seen Martha Stewart has her own section all the time. She is one of the biggest brands for like kitchen decor and like kitchenware, and rightfully so. All of her stuff is really cute. I personally love it. I just can't really afford it, but it's so cute. She was 41 years old when her first cookbook was published. I personally think once you hit your 50s, it's like you're starting to hit the climax or like the peak of your life. You can still achieve things at 50. I mean, clearly at 41, she was able to achieve her goals. Number two, Vera Wang did not enter the fashion industry until age 40. And Vera Wang is one of the world's biggest designers, everybody knows. But yeah, I just really want to harp on the fact that like it really is never too late to do anything. It's so cliche and definitely easier said than done, but it's just the truth. If you really want to do something, just please go for it. Don't waste your life. You only have one. And if this is a thing about, you know, maybe you're gonna feel like a little weird because you're a little older than people in the classroom. Like I said, in my undergrad classes there were a lot of older people and it wasn't even a big deal. Like everybody talked to them. It was like as if they were our age. And also you're very young. Like 30 years old is very young. Like as much as you think that it's old or older or just like weird, it's really not. The only difference is that you're no longer in your 20s. That's really the only difference. You said, is it really expensive to go to school for it? I cannot speak on that because I honestly, first of all, don't know where you live, and second of all, don't know how expensive it is. So if anybody has any insight about how expensive it can be, then please comment that down below. The next person commented, what type of law firm is this, and was it a deciding factor when you signed on? I worked for a workers' compensation firm. It was not the type of law that I was interested in at all initially. I originally wanted to do like criminal law or just get some experience in that type of law because I thought it was more interesting. And I'm sure it is. I mean, I still really want to try it someday. The fact that it was a workers' comp firm kind of deterred me from wanting to go there. But at the time, there weren't a lot of other, you know, firms asking for paralegals in the type of law that I was interested in. I really liked the group of people when I went to go interview, and I decided, you know, I'll just learn workers' comp law. I hadn't heard about it ever before, but I'm honestly truly grateful that I did start working there because it kind of opened my eyes to what I'm truly passionate about. And being behind a desk and looking somebody in the eyes that really has no idea what to do, is very uneducated, is most likely a minority. It was one of the best decisions that I've ever made. Third question is, how did you land your first paralegal job? How were you able to get your foot in the door? Do I need to expend 15 to 24 months towards a paralegal certificate? I've mentioned this before, but I did not have any prior paralegal experience at all. I was fresh out of school. No, I was still in school. I was doing online school. I was about to graduate a few months prior to being hired. And so I didn't really have any relevant experience. I think that what really got me in the door, because keep in mind, I also applied for another position at a different firm and they were going to give me it, but it was way too far from my house. Like, it was probably an hour away, and I didn't realize until we were already at the last stage of the interview. That one was super intense. I think what really got me through the door for both of those jobs was the fact that I had relevant skills. So like, I was a research assistant, and that's something that shows that you can research, you can use the internet, you're like to some extent you're tech savvy, in my opinion. It also shows you can work under someone, because I was working for a professor and I made sure to detail, in my resume what I did for him. The other thing that was kind of relevant experience for the job that I had was the fact that I was on the mock trial team in undergrad, and that's something super niche. I feel like you can't really just go be on the mock trial team. Like, you have to be enrolled in a university, you have to like do something in order to be there, so it's not as easy to attain. But you could do something similar that represents the fact that you are interested in the legal field. Like, maybe you could go volunteer at the judge's office or something like that. Volunteer experiences, I feel like, are easier to get your hands on. Do you need to expend 15 to 24 months towards a paralegal certificate? Again, I'm really not sure about that question. Guys, if anybody else knows, please comment it. Also, before I move on to the next question, I was the one who selected the candidates that would be interviewed for my current paralegal position. So there's already a girl I've been training for a month now. And the thing that stood out to me the most when looking for people who could potentially take over my job is the resume. I really didn't care about what was on the resume before I even chose the person. Like, I wasn't looking for specific things about, like, first of all, I needed to make sure that the resume caught my eye. Like, if you have an organized resume that's easy to read, that isn't childlike, or just, I don't really like those resumes that are kind of produced by PowerPoint. That's my personal opinion. I think that there are a lot of cleaner choices that you can go with. Obviously, I wouldn't write off a candidate if their resume was one of the PowerPoint templates, but there are way better formats. Definitely impressed by a lot of the resumes I saw, and I was leaning towards giving those people more of my attention when it came to reviewing all the candidates. So I think that your resume can give you a huge upper hand. I quickly had to move my car because my camera was overheating, but that's okay. So the fourth question was, I quickly had to move my car because my camera was overheating. So the fourth question was, what does your caseload look like? On my first job as a paralegal, I had an 80-person caseload in auto law. Was that amount normal with no training? My caseload since the first day of the job has always been around 80 to 100 cases. Give or take, it could go over 100, it could be a little less than 80, but rarely less than 80. It is a lot to take in. However, I heard that other positions sometimes don't even let you touch the cases until over a month of training, which is very smart on their end, because obviously as a new paralegal, you're gonna make more mistakes. You don't really know these clients. It's like, you can't just be handed the torch. But it is pretty hefty. In my personal experience, they did allow me to work on the cases within the first week of even training. Short answer to that question is, that is a normal amount in my experience. And they don't really like to overwork the paralegal. So like, for example, if it goes over 100 or like way over 100, then that's the time when you have to hire another paralegal. The last question that I'm gonna go ahead and answer is, how do you deal with jealous women? In your experience, does having an assertive attitude ever come off the wrong way with other women, or do women ever react negatively towards you for it? I've said in previous videos that I really try to be assertive in the office, and I don't want to make it seem as if I'm not a nice person, because I really am a super nice person. to my coworkers all the time, but I do think that there has to be a level of assertion to gain the respect of people, or else they're just gonna walk all over you. When it comes to jealousy in the office, I personally haven't had that experience. I know that it is very common for there to be drama and beef and jealousy in law firms because it's just what everybody says. It's gonna be there, but luckily in my office there was never any competition between anyone. We were all generally on good terms. When it came to talking to other women on the other side, that was a little bit different, because when there are two assertive women saying things and you're not on the same side, you're kind of going to be butting heads a lot. I can't say that any of them were ever jealous. It was just the fact that we were all super assertive towards each other, and then that became to be kind of like we would send each other messages that just sounds like we're saying with attitude, or we have some sort of negative feeling toward each other, when it really shouldn't have been like that at all. I personally think that going forward, whenever I do work in another law firm, I'm never going to approach it that way again. I think I'm going to be assertive, but just not in the way that it can be taken a negative way. How'd I deal with it? Well, 1, stand your ground. 2, don't entertain it. 3, actually, I was having a very good day one day, and I remember I was like replying to everyone, even on the other side. I was like, thanks, smiley face, or like, thank you, have a good day. Stuff like that, that just is unnecessary, but I got a lot of positive feedback from that. So maybe try to be not super overly nice because you're not their friend, but I guess a good, like, nice person in general. And I know that sounds a little bit funny, like obviously be a nice person in your job, but it's different when you're working in a law firm, because in my opinion, I think that there's always going to be some sort of unspoken tension between the two sides. So like obviously you and the opposing counsel, you're not going to be best friends, but at the same time there should be some sort of base level of like respect that you have towards each other, and there should never be any petty tension or drama. I know some attorneys do that, but I feel like that's not the way to go. It's the same way for paralegals on the other end. In fact, I can actually say that I think paralegals who are women tend to speak with more negative tone than the attorneys that are male. So for some reason the camera still says that it's overheating.